Well, the disciples were able to spend a lot of time with Jesus throughout their journeys. They walked with Jesus, they spoke with him, they got to know him. They probably saw Jesus when he was tired, they saw Jesus when he was hungry. They were able to maybe joke with him and enjoy his presence. And I think they really got a sense for just how normal Jesus was, right? They saw the humanity of Jesus. They could see the humanity of Jesus. But then every once in a while, Jesus would do something miraculous, and they got this sense that, it's like something is a little bit different about this person that we are walking with, right? And he would cure a man's withered hand, or he would raise up a paralytic and tell him to walk again. He would cure the sick, and every time these miracles would happen, they would get this sense of like the divinity of Christ is kind of shining through the seams, and they're starting to see a little bit more of the full picture. Well, then in this gospel today, it's kind of like the hinges are blown off, right? And Jesus appears transfigured in glory right in front of their eyes, and they can see without a doubt, okay, we were right. This person is more than just a normal human being, that in fact this man Jesus that we've been walking with, he is the God of Israel. We're witnessing his glory. Look at Moses and Elijah are talking to him. They're below him because he is the God of Israel. And so the disciples are able to see the divinity of Christ, and in the gospel it just says the words that they saw his glory. Right, they saw his glory. I wonder what it would be like if each one of us were able to see that, right? If we were able to see the glory of Christ, and if we were really able to see the glory of Christ in every day, right? If we were able to see the spiritual realities that are at work behind just sort of the ordinary surface things that we observe. If we were able to see with that kind of vision, if we could see the glory of Christ, what would that do for us, right? How would that affect us? Imagine the next time that we are mocked or we're insulted or we're ridiculed or whatever it is, to think about Jesus. If we could see Jesus in that moment, maybe he's got the crown of thorns on his head and he's inviting us into a share in his passion. Or maybe in those moments when we receive a piece of difficult news, what if we could really see beyond that moment and see Christ next to us, and he's there to embrace us, and he's got this resolve that he's going to walk with us through whatever it is that we're experiencing. What kind of a comfort that would be for us if we could really see that. Or maybe in those moments when we feel tempted, right, when we feel drawn by the glamour of sin, by money or pleasure or status or power or whatever it is, and we feel drawn towards that, but then we could see Christ and we could see sort of this peaceful gaze that he has, and he's inviting us into this higher life. If we could see Christ in those moments, if we could see the glory of Christ, I think it would change us. I think it would really transform us. Because the truth of the matter is, we don't always see it, but at every single moment of our life, every single moment, Jesus is there and he's inviting us into a moment of communion with God. Everything that happens to us, every moment, Jesus is inviting us into communion with himself, into a share in his own life. And so if we could see the glory of Christ in that way, I think it would really transform us. So, how do we do that, right? How do we get there to be able to see that kind of glory? Well, we can look back at that gospel again. The beginning of that gospel, we have to work our way backwards. All right, Peter, James, and John are able to see the glory of Christ. How did they get there? The beginning of the gospel says that Jesus took them up the mountain to pray. He took them up the mountain to pray. And maybe it's really just that simple. Maybe the key to seeing the glory of Christ in our life is simply to pray. Personal prayer. Prayer is one of those three practices of Lent, right? Prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. And what happens when we pray is that we encounter Christ, we meet him there, and Christ, he takes away all those things that are blinding our vision, right? All the specks of dust and all of the blindness that we have and all of the darkness. He kind of takes it away a little more and more, and we're able to see more and more who Jesus is. He reveals himself to us, and we start to see a little bit of the glory of Christ. You know, maybe you've had those moments in your life, maybe in prayer, when you're just sort of transfixed, right? You see Jesus and you see how good he is. And I think in those moments, you know, everything else kind of fades away. It's like all of those things that we thought were important, they kind of fade away. You know, everything that we thought we should be afraid of doesn't really matter so much anymore. All those things that we thought that we really needed, we've got to have this, all of those things kind of fade away. And in prayer, we're able to see the glory of Christ. We're able to see that life that he has transfigured before us. And it just puts everything into perspective when we can see that. And so today, as we continue our Lenten journey, maybe we can make that resolution not to be satisfied with just seeing the surface, not to be satisfied with just seeing what's ordinary and what's normal, but taking that to prayer and asking Christ to reveal himself a little bit more and more each day to us, so that we also can see the glory of Christ and accept that daily invitation that he gives to us to love, peace, and communion.